Welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider, PRI, here at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. I'm your coach for PRI, Rick Gailey, here alongside our insider, the I in PRI, Renee Nadeau. And we are so pleased to be joined today by the head football coach of the St. James Wildcats, Coach Dwain Jenkins. Coach Jenkins, thank you for spending some time with us here on Prep Recruiting.
Thanks for inviting us. I've been watching the show for a long time. It's good to finally be a part of it.
Dwain, 0-19 when you arrived. You're in your third year, all the way to the Superdome this year. It's been quite a ride. I know you couldn't wrap it up in one sentence, but there's a lot of work went into this.
It is. It's been a lot of commitment, a lot of hard work. It's taken a whole community to get us to the point that we're at. We came into a situation where not a lot of people were excited about St. James High School anymore, and a tradition-rich program had kind of fallen on some hard times, and we had some kids that stepped up to the plate from day one and decided we were going to change it, and those guys got the privilege of, as freshmen, going through a 0-9 season, and seniors getting to finish up playing in the Superdome was a pretty remarkable turnaround for those kids. And along the way, we've had a great run over 3 years, back-to-back quarterfinals, and following it up with a trip to the state championship game. We moved forward. We made a lot of progress, but we still have some ways to go.
Whenever you take over a program that is floundering, not unlike when I started there in 1992, it was even worse for you. They were 0 for 2 years. They had won 2 games the year before in 1991. But you've got to change, as they say in today's parlance, you have to change the culture. Really put your personality into the program and believe that your personality is what will change the program. What is Dwain Jenkins all about? What is your philosophy, and what did you have to do first?
Well, I really think it started, and it's something that we referred to during those 3 years, was that first team meeting. And I challenged the kids and told them we were going to build a championship program, and we were going to do what championship teams do from day one. That was what we talked about. And that was off season, that was in the season, that was the way we carried ourselves in the classroom, what we did in the community. And it went down to the smallest details and how we were going to dress and how we were going to walk on the field, and everything that we did was with a champion's mentality. So that's what we kind of started from that point. And with my background and the success that I've been fortunate enough to be around, I kind of knew what that blueprint looked like to be a champion. And we challenged our kids day in and day out to act like champions. And regardless of what happened on the second week of December this year, we have turned our program into a championship level program, and it's something that's going to live on.
Hot and heavy right now, recruiting. You went through the process when you were at Lutcher as a player. How closely do you monitor the recruiting process with your players?
Well, I like to be involved as much as possible. I do have some strong statements on the state of recruiting and how recruiting goes now. I think it's time for the NCAA to bring in an early signing period for kids. I think it's time for the NCAA to allow juniors to take official visits during the second half of the junior years. You have so many kids that are going in as midterm enrollees, and you're asking them to make a decision for the next 4 or 5 years of their lives, and some of them are having to do it with only 2 or 3 weekends to make that decision. So I think there's some things in recruiting on a national level that needs to be changed if we're going to always look out and do what's best for kids first.
And it's important that you be involved in that, because if you're not, it leaves a vacuum for somebody else to get involved. And you've been either directly or indirectly involved at 2 different now accomplished schools. Talk about the role of the head coach in making sure that, and it takes more than the head coach.
Right.
I had a recruiting coordinator. That was one of the assistant coach's jobs, and you got to make sure the counselor and principal are all involved. Right. Talk about the role of the head coach in that whole process.
Well, I think the head coach's job is just to continue to keep those lines of communication open with several different schools and a lot of different schools. And I'm not afraid to tell the college coaches, I don't have your logo on my chest. My logo is for my school, so I'm going to represent my kids, and I'm going to try to keep my kids' interests best at all times. And I really think that's the first thing, is just keep your kids' interests at first. I try to keep the parents involved and let them know what's going on as much as possible. But really the big part is just staying on top of all the other details, making sure transcripts are in place, making sure that the guidance counselors are keeping all of those records. And sometimes I've served in that role as being the recruiting coordinator on a staff, and making sure that the NCAA eligibility centers course names match the course names that are on the transcripts, down to just those little details that a lot of people don't think about, but become so important, because when you have a kid that's committed to a school and trying to get on that campus to be cleared to be ready to play, and he's being held off because his transcript doesn't match the codes that the eligibility center has, it can really be a strenuous process, and you just want to make sure that that kid's interest is kept best.
This was very unique, this past championship game. You and Lutcher decided to take a team picture together. You and Tim have a very, very close relationship, and this was a parish championship. This was pretty unique kind of game.
It was. It's something that they've, in a long history of Lutcher and St. James, there's been a lot of teams that's played for championships. I think between the two schools, it's like 16 championships that they've played for. And there's been some other opportunities that the schools have had that looked like that collision course could happen. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. We've had several close calls, and you don't know if it'll happen again. So you want to take advantage of the moment when you have it. And it was, it's such a unique time in our parish for our kids. A lot of our kids go to school together, take classes together, because of the way our school system is set up now with a Career and Technology Center and a Science and Math Academy. Those kids sit in class together with each other, and they compete against each other on Friday night. So it was a special day and a special week for our school system, but also for our parish.
And you had something special also happen to you after the state championship game. It's so important that your home life match up with your coaching life. Your wife's a physical therapist, just like mine is. In fact, they've worked together on occasion. Talk about the blessed event that happened after the blessed event.
Well, on December 21st, my wife Terry and I were fortunate to welcome our third child. We have two sons, Zach, who's 8, and Alex, who's 6, and we have been joined by Kate, the newborn baby girl and ruler of the household already at 3 weeks old. I think behind every great coach, you have to have a great coach's wife, and my wife has been extraordinary. She does a great job of keeping my kids in line and in place and on the go, and keeping me straight too. And it's important to kind of have all those things, all those priorities kind of match up. It was a great time, I would say, over the holidays, because it was really the first time in a long time that I took time off and was able to dedicate time to my kids, my wife and my kids. And it was a great holidays. I got to see the end of a lot of bowl games with a newborn. Those late starts weren't a problem for me. Those 2:30 ending the games, I got to see the end of all of them. So it was really a good time with my family.
Well, thank you, Coach Jenkins, for being here with us today. That's Dwain Jenkins, head coach of the St. James Wildcats, the black and gold. We appreciate you being here today, Coach, and I personally appreciate the great job you've done with the Wildcats. They deserve nothing less. We are here in the Event Center at NOLA Motorsports Park here in Avondale, Louisiana, one of the great facilities for you to host your next big event. Set it apart from all of the rest here at the Event Center at NOLA Motorsports Park. We'll be back with some great athletes from St. James after this timeout. This is PRI.